So we may start late today, and so are we still good till 2:15, or we can go a little bit longer than that?
How much time? 2:15? If we can, 2:15 would be best, if possible.
Okay. Okay, great.
Before you start, Xiaoning, if we get to the 2:15 part and we run out of time, if anyone has any questions, they can feel free to let Holly or Kendall know, and they can email me, and then I can get y'all in contact with Xiaoning or just send out a general email answering any questions that y'all may have as well.
Great. Thank you, Caroline. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Xiaoning Sun. Just a reminder, this session is being recorded. Happy Friday. Thanks for having me here. I'm Xiaoning Sun, currently a postdoc fellow at UTech Lab from UTEAM, University of Utah. For some of you may not familiar with our lab, so this is all the services we deliver and help with, maybe from mental health related to behavior support across different school districts. So my role in this lab currently mainly focus on offer on-site supervision for behavior support team. And a little bit more about myself. I was a teacher like some of you. Well, back then, I was proud of as a teacher, but I honestly, I have to say sometimes it can be a very stressful position, right? We always have a lot of paperwork needs to be done, have lessons to be planned, and we also need to collaborate with adult teams to make sure all the feasible interventions can be implemented in our classrooms and benefit our students. But the thing is, I know what I'm trying to say is it can be stressful, but we are still here, so we should really be proud of ourselves. And we, as a field, we currently as educators, we are also appreciate all the teachers' hard work in the classroom for our students. So today we are going to talk about the three major parts, and first will be the IEP development. Second one is how can we incorporate the IEP information into our daily instruction. And the third part, if we still have time, I'm going to talk about two case examples. Hopefully that's gonna help. That's gonna be helpful. First part related to IEP development. Before we jump into the details, I would like to have you all reflect on these following questions. How often do you reference IEP information? List one IEP goal of your students, and what strategies have you used to incorporate IEP information into daily instructional planning? Let's have 1 minute to reflect on these questions. Okay, I hope we all had a good information shared over there a little bit. So after our session today, by the end of the session, after all the information we discussed, we can go back to see the information we wrote earlier and then revise as needed. So now we are going to talk about the IEP development part. This one, probably you've already seen this before. It's from the Utah State Board of Education. This is a framework called reflective framework for IEP development. So in total, they incorporated 6 components. We are going to briefly go through each of the components. So first, I would like to talk about the present level of academic achievement and the functional performance. On this portion, we often include the following 3 type of statement: the current level of performance, and how disability affects their performance, and what's the strengths of each student. And then regarding the special factors, we often including the information related to whether they have the needs regarding the English language, regarding the vision or hearing support, or if they need any behavior support, as well as assistive technology. So all this information will go under the special factors. So for the transition part, mainly we are talking about 2 parts of transition. One is from early intervention to special education preschool program. Another one is from the secondary to post-secondary transition. And then the other part is IEP goals. So you may already familiar with these SMART goals, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. More specifically, specific refers to like have this goal well stated, have with all the details, and measurable refers to those information, how can we measure the behavior or skills, right? Achievable refers to whether this goal is realistic, whether it's achievable for students. If currently the level is pretty low, we set a very, very high goal, but probably that's not achievable goal, right? So we do need to be aware of that. So the relevant, whether this goal makes sense for the student, whether students will benefit from this goal. So this is relevant. The time bound is whether the goal is time sensitive. Sometimes we often put like by the end of the IEP cycle, right? So to be more practically helping us writing IEP goals, we can follow this BCCT SMART goal formula, in which including who is a student, right? Behavior, conditions, criteria, and time frame. Here I list several goals. As an example, we can go through each one of them. So here's an academic goal. When given sums no greater than 20, Jack will solve 10 addition word problems with a baseline of 30% accuracy to 80% accuracy for 5 consecutive sessions over the course of the IEP cycle. So we can take a second to find each component regarding BCCT and then be more specific about and analyze this goal a little bit. For example, when given sums no greater than 20, so this is conditions, right? So under what conditions when given sums no greater than 20? So student Jack will, yes, that's the behavior, will solve 10 addition word problems. And then the next part is the criteria, to what level or degree. So the level is from a baseline of 30% accuracy to 80% accuracy for 5 consecutive sessions. So this is criteria. So for the time frame, is over the course of the IEP cycle. right? So this is the a goal, including all these BCCT elements and also meet the SMART goal components here. Next, here I list another behavior goal. We can analyze this goal and trying to match each component to the BCCT formula. Given a 10-piece token board, this is a condition. Student Jack will work on a math sheet without leaving the working area. So this is the behavior, right? We are looking for when he's working on the math sheet, he's not supposed to leave the working area. So this is the target behavior. And the criteria is with a baseline from 0 minutes to 10 minutes for 5 consecutive sessions. This is the criteria. And time frame is over the course of the IEP cycle. So this is the behavior goal example. I know sometimes it can be complicated when it comes to the behavior because we can measure students' behavior in different dimension, right? Regarding for this one, it's a duration. We are looking for his on-task behavior for a certain time. For some other goal, we need to check the frequency, right? How often the students have this behavior issue. We would like to reduce that behavior to a certain level. We can use the frequency data to check. Right, so there's different dimensions we can measure the behavior. So it can be complicated sometimes, but if you have any question, we can discuss that by the end of the session regarding how to write a specific behavior goal. I also list another daily living skill goal. Again, this match this formula. Student Jack again, behavior, make a sandwich independently, right? Condition, given video demonstration. Criteria from baseline of 0% of completion to 100% of completion for 5 consecutive sessions, and time frame by the end of school year. So these are 3 goals I present here, matching the BCCD formula. Hopefully it is clear for you guys regarding how can we make or write the IEP goals here. So we are going to skip this part, the question part. I know we can save the time by the end, but you can take a second to look at your IEP goals, trying to find other components regarding BCCT. If not, you can always add more information. So that was IEP goal. How can we write IEP goals? Next, I would like to talk about accommodations and modifications. So the big difference between these two is accommodations do not change the curriculum or the level of difficulty, versus modifications do change the curriculum and the level of difficulty. More example is how regarding the accommodations, how can we deliver or present the information, or during an assessment setting, how can we present the testing question, right? For example, read to them or let them read themselves versus we read it for them. Or the setting, can we offer a quiet setting if that's what student needed? Or can we offer more breaks if students need that too, or change other activities. So these are the adaptation does not really change the curriculum or the task difficulty. Versus modifications, it does reduce or change the level of difficulty by, for example, offering less learning materials, right? Demand less on students' performance, or give easier tasks, giving hints to correct responses. So these adaptations do change the level of task difficulties or the curriculum itself. So this is the accommodation versus modifications. So the last component is specifically design instruction and service minutes, right? How we adapting content, methods of delivery of instruction to meet each individual's needs. And service minutes refers to total minutes of special education related service. So these are the 6 components under the reflective framework for the IEP development. So once we have all these contents or statements, prepared, so I also listed the instruction and intervention here. So once we have all these components listed or developed, I do highly recommend us to have a master sheet as IEP at a glance, in which we briefly list all this information. And this tool can help us during the lesson plan or daily instruction planning process. Here you can list what the IEP goals for each student, and then what their current level and what the accommodation and modification for them, and what the strengths, struggles, and what the things they may potentially preferred thing, items or activities or preferred person. All those can list under the reinforcer, and we can also list the preferred instructional strategy if we already have that information. So regarding the instructional strategy, here we have a lot of instruction and intervention we can use. Here I just list some of them. For example, the explicit instruction and direct instruction, they all have some overlap components, like have the learning environment ready and prepare the modeling, explain the expectation of the class or lesson, and modeling the learning skills, and how offer the students the under the guided practice, and let them do the practice independently later on, and followed by the assessment or closure or review the learning content often. And for the task analysis, can be breaks the whole task into little steps and support them achieve each step at a time. And a tiered instruction can be have the instruction, but tier those methods and meet individual needs. And for the prompting, we have like visual prompting, which we use the visual things and remind them the expectation or remind them the skills. We can use the gesture prompting. We can use the modeling prompting, physical prompting, right? Regarding the behavior skill training, there's major 4 components. Again, some components overlap with direct instruction and explicit instruction method. For example, on the behavior skill training, we use the first part is explain the rationale or get through this text or through the explanation method, and then we modeling the skill itself, and then followed by offer the students the practical practice opportunities, and then followed by feedback. So these are the behavior skill training. And regarding the video-based instruction, it's basically an instructional method involve the videos. Mainly there are two formats of video-based instruction. One is video modeling, one is video prompting. So video modeling involves a way we use one single video, demonstrate a whole task. So students will watch that complete video and do the whole task followed that watching video activity. And then versus video prompting is we will make several video clips. So a whole task will be broken down into small steps. And then each step will have a matching video clip. So students will watch one step, perform that step, and watch another step and perform the following step. So this is video prompting. So these are video modeling, which one complete video prompting is there's a series of small short video clips demonstrate a whole task. So these are the difference. Next, I would like to talk about the daily instruction. Okay, we developed the IEP program incorporating all these 6 components, and we have a master sheet, IEP at a glance, right, involving all those essential components, which can help us to plan the lesson or daily instruction. What should we do next? Yeah, so we will read through the content standards based on students' age, right? Knowing the expectation for them. And then we will matching the relevant IEP goals to that content standards and once we get these 2 information together, we will go through students' needs regarding the accommodations and the modification. And then next step will be go check the prior knowledge requirement for students to learn a new skill. And then once we have all this information together, organized, and then we can planning for the instruction. So taking data or collecting data in our instruction process is very important. I know it can be really hard for us to deliver the instruction at the same time, taking data on students' performance and tracking their progress. Regarding the data sheet, there's different ways we can create data sheet. There's no standard ways. Here, I just would like to share one type of data sheet I really like, and then potentially it can save our times. You can take the data and graph it on it directly. So we can take a look at this goal here. So this is the academic goal, again for Jack regarding doing this math work, right? So let's say on October, on the bottom row, this is the data, I collect the data. The date, I collect the data. And on the left, it was the percentage of students' performance, accuracy percentage of students' performance, right? So let's say October 1st, the students only answer 1 question correctly, which is 10%. And then just circle that. The second day, 3 problems. Third day, 3 problems. And then 4, 5, I just circle the questions students finished and accurately, and then circle that, and then connect all these circles. Now we see there's a graph here, right? There's an increasing trend. That means students is progressing. This is for academic goal. We can use in this way. And then this next one, again, this is the behavior goal. We are looking for Jack's on-task behavior, working on the math sheet without leaving the working area, right? So again, the bottom row was the date, and the left column, I set instead of percentage this time, I set the duration from 0 minutes to 10. You can change the range based on your goal. And then here, October the 1st, student was only be able to sit in this area, working on the sheet, stay in this working area for 1 minute. I just circle that. The next day, 3 minutes. Next day, 3 minutes. So I just keep circle that and then connect them. Again, we can see there's an increasing trend here. So again, there's different ways for us to design the data sheet. It's totally based on what type of behavior goal you are trying to track, what type of behavior or skill goals you are tracking. So based on the goal, you can design them in a different way, as long as it's clearly gets information you want to collect. So this is just one example. I think it's really convenient and can be good to use. So We will skip this question part and then we'll save all the question by the end if we still have time. So next part, I will introduce, I will briefly talk about 2 case examples. Yes, let's say we have the IEP program developed and we have this daily instruction plan and lessons, also instructional activities plan. But if students have intensive behavior issue, right, that can potentially affect our classroom management or our daily schedule. Or let's say if we have students if we help students with severe disabilities, that can also be a little bit different. Even though we have all this information planned, we still need to do a little bit extra adaptation to help meet students' needs. So the following 2 examples I list here is one is from the behavior unit, serving students with intensive behavior issues. So besides all these planning we introduced earlier, the IEP development, how can we incorporate IEP into the daily instruction? How can we better support these students, right? Let's say a student has very challenging behavior. She can communicate, she can do things well, but the behavior issue keep occurring, right? How can we better support students in this situation? Speak from my own experience. What I do is I will, besides the IEP information, besides the general planning, instruction planning, I will list all these 3 major things for this student. Think about the school and family's concerns. Think about how the behavior look like. Think about reinforcers can potentially motivate students to behave appropriately, right? I put examples here. Let's say schools and families' concerns are behavior occurrences unpredictable, escalation is intense, or that can last long. In the behavior topography, which is how the behavior look like, it can be the elopement, non-compliance behavior, or destroys the property, right? And then once we have that information, we will further think about what's the potential function of that behavior. That's what the ABC data come into place. We may often hear about, oh, let's take the ABC data. Let's do the functional behavior analysis, which is also FBA, right? Why we need that? Why we would take ABC and FB data? All this data help us to have an idea what's the function behind this behavior. Once we know the function, we can think about the function-based interventions, right? So yeah, we will gather all the data, figure out the function of that behavior, and then come to the reinforcer. Example can be preferred person, preferred activity, and I also list pet time here, which can also categorize under the preferred activity, right? We think about the information from this angle regarding a student, have this information organized, and then for the next step will be how can we use this information to come up intervention plan. Let's take elopement as an example. Let's say if the function of this elopement based on our ABC data or FBA data, saying it's the escape from task or activity. How can we come up with the intervention, right? So we can think about, is the task itself too hard, right? Potentially, how can we adapt the content or adapt the task to help it more achievable, or help students can be more close to students' current level, right? Can we use prompting to support it? Can we insert her or his interest factors into instruction? For example, a student likes butterfly very much. Can we add some butterfly on that working sheet, right? Can we reduce the workload for each task session and start from there, right? So these are the considerations we can, or these are the solutions we can use under potentially reduce the task difficulties. Or we can think about, is the instruction environment too dark, too loud, or too many distractions? This is another consideration we can potentially find a solution to reduce the students' extended behavior, right? And we can also think, well, when will be a good time for students to learn effectively? Some students are morning person, whereas some students are not, right? So we can also think about to adjust the schedule for a student, meeting his or her individual needs. And we can also think about whether for a certain activities, whether students is ready for group instruction or they are just not ready to learn the social skills in a group instruction type, right? So we can also think about that way. And also we can think about creatively, how can we make the learning activities more fun, right? So these are the considerations when we trying to come up with intervention. And then once we have all this thinking through, we can also examine what's the current intervention we are using. We have level system, right? So this is also class-wide intervention, or we may already have some individualized intervention. For example, like offer a fun time with a preferred person. For example, a student, she really enjoyed the shower time, so we offer the shower in the school, shower time in the school. So she took that as a reinforcer. So these are the example we can think of, right? Like potentially it's in place. And then we can also think about besides the current intervention we used, what are other potential intervention we can insert. So these are the, once we have this information or have this thinking process, next step will be how can we incorporate this intervention idea into daily schedule, right? So here on the left column, I list all the activities here. It's just an example, right? Next to it is activity type. Let's say a student's ready, for example, for the reading, does this student will benefit from individual learning session or group learning session, right? We can list that as individual or group instruction for the student. If not, is there a instructor can work with student for that specific time? And then followed by that, I also list IEP goal. So what IEP goal can be inserted in this activity? And you can think about it. And then follow that, think about the strengths, accommodation, and modifications we can use, and reinforcer can be used for that activity, and antecedent-based intervention, which is what can we do to prevent the potential behavior issues, like what can we do before the behavior occurs. And consequence-based intervention will be what can we do after this behavior occurs. So this is the way I used for myself, from how the thinking map regarding all the students' needs information to the behavior function-based intervention, and incorporate those intervention ideas into daily struggle. I know our time's up. I'm not going to share more about the content that I prepared here, but if you all have questions, feel free to reach out to us. And I hope the content I shared today can be helpful for your daily teaching. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Annie.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.